Today we're going to break down in the money section the four most common reasons a small business fails. And obviously, number one is not going to be a surprise to some of you in the business finance space, but excited to unpack why business fails so that we can help businesses not fail. There's too many businesses failing in this country that shouldn't be. And by tackling these four topics, we're going to help less businesses fail. And so if you work with businesses or you are a business owner, pay attention. This is going to be a good one for you. Topic here, the four most common reasons a small business fails. This is from our good friends at Investopedia.com. Thank you, Investopedia. Running a small business is not for the faint of heart. Entrepreneurship is inherently risky. Successful business owners must possess the ability to mitigate company-specific risks while simultaneously bringing a product or service to market at a price point that meets consumer demand and hopefully leaves you with profitability so you can actually grow that business and pay your bills. The most common reasons small business fail include, Ty, is this a surprise to you?
Not at all.
All right. In the article, according to Investopedia, a very respectable and reputable site when it comes to business, financials, etc., it says the most common reasons small businesses fail include a lack of capital or funding, retaining an inadequate management team, a faulty infrastructure or business model, and unsuccessful marketing initiatives. So, key takeaways: running out of money is a small business's biggest risk. Let's unpack that. So the financing hurdles, the number one reason most businesses fail, according to Investopedia, and I've read this in a lot of different articles across the business world and landscape, is typically that they just don't have enough runway. They run out of money and capital to pay their bills, to hire people, to be able to do marketing campaigns. And because they don't have enough access to money, they inevitably go out of business before they figure things out. And that is very unfortunate and very sad. Ty, as you unpack this number one reason why businesses fail, what can a business owner do to get in front and make sure that they are adequately capitalized and have the cash to continue?
Yeah, there's a couple thoughts that come to mind when we bring up this topic. And obviously, there's a lot of businesses that just don't have access to the capital that they need. So that's part of the battle. The other part of the battle here is I think that because they're opening their business, they think that day one, right from the get-go, they need to be Google, right? They need to provide all of this and that for their employees, that everyone needs MacBooks, everyone needs raising desks, and so they just get a little out of hand with the spending. But that being said, I think the biggest thing that a business owner can do once they set their budget, once they get their QuickBooks dialed in, once they know what they actually need to spend money on, is go get access to revolving lines of credit, go get access to business credit cards. Make sure that you have the funding and the money available so that if things do go south for a little bit, or if a COVID pops up and you need to float payroll for a few months, that you have the money to do it. And I say revolving lines of credit so that way you don't have to spend the money until you need it, but make sure that you have the money there in case something does happen.
No question. The time to get access to money is before you need the money. By the time you need it, it may be too late. And as a business owner, timing is everything. And so having access to money, especially in a line of credit format, gives you a lot of flexibility, knowing, hey, if there's an emergency, I can tap that line of credit, those credit cards just sitting there, or sometimes it's a really big opportunity. Like for us right now, there's a big opportunity with this ERC program. And so it's like, wow, it's going to take a minute for us to get paid, but should we, pull from our lines and from our available capital to be able to build our profits and grow our business? And the answer is, as long as it's making me money and it's, enough money to cover the cost of the money and all the expenses associated with it, and it helps me grow, then I should do it. If not, then I should not. That simple.
Exactly. It's taking on debt with an educated expectation of a greater return. That's what we teach to all of our clients, and we've done the homework and we've generated an educated expectation of a greater return. So we are more than comfortable to spend our money and to go into a little bit of business debt to be able to create an educated expectation of a future greater return.
You know, and at some point there has to be some blame that goes around, and it has to be with the schooling. I had a gentleman on our podcast last week. This guy went to dental school, so he's officially a doctor, dentist. And in dental school, he said they were supposed to have like two little modules about how business works. And really, he only got one, and it was maybe 90 minutes. So in a total of 8 years of schooling, that was really about all he got in terms of business finance, in terms of how he was going to grow his business. And unfortunately, he was able to plug in to his father's practice because his dad was an existing dentist, but most business owners don't have that luxury. And if you're, starting a business that is not in a field where you had to go 4 extra years of college to get that title, that, helps a little bit because it makes it more difficult to actually jump into that business. But for, the 30 million plus small business owners, and not to mention the 60 million, I mean, you really opened my eyes to that. There's 60 million gig workers in this country who don't get the knowledge they need to be able to grow and finance a business.
Exactly. I see that all the time. With my sphere of influence, I see it more so with insurance agents. They go get licensed, say, oh, I want to start my own agency. I want to start my own firm, whatever you want to call it. And they know everything about being an insurance agent, but they don't know how to keep their books. They don't know how to access capital. They don't know how to do their taxes. And so it becomes so darn expensive just being in business that they're not even making enough money as an agent to stay afloat long enough. So, I mean, if you're, a dentist, a doctor, an insurance agent, you're trying to start your own practice, you really need to go learn the business side of it.
Yep. And then we got inadequate management after lack of funding and financing. So if you have poor management, and we've certainly seen this at different aspects of our careers and businesses we've been associated with, what would you, if you were going to unpack bad management, how would you define it, and how would you define good management?
Yeah, I think it comes down to two things in my personal opinion. You can lead with fear, you can lead with love, and leading with fear may get you short-term results, but if you're going to build a long-term business, you need to learn how to lead with love.
The other thing I would add to that is leading by example. If you're not out there busting your butt, if you're not the first one there, the last one to leave, if you don't work some weekends, if you don't lead the example of, hey, this is what we stand for as a company, this is our work ethic, and even more important than the work ethic is also just the word, the promises you make. Nothing will kill your company and your employee and your culture more than making a promise that you don't fulfill with your team, with your employees, with your clients, with your strategic partners and affiliates. If you don't follow through on the promises you make, that's the fastest way to, I think, kill your company.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I say love-based leadership, that doesn't mean that accountability doesn't exist, right? Obviously, your parents, as a young child, love you very, very much, but they still put you in timeout. So leading with love does not mean there's a lack of accountability. You still 100% hold people accountable, and you do exactly what you say you're going to do. But if your employees are coming to work every day scared that if they don't put up numbers day in and day out, they're going to get fired, then it's going to really, really be tough to build a culture, to build a business that people want to work for, that will stay around for a long time. Hence, previous business did really, really well for a while, but people finally got fed up and said, I don't need this in my life anymore. I'm going to do something else. And fear-based leadership failed once again. I'm
curious, Ty, you're a sports guy, starting quarterback, good athlete. As you were growing up in sports, did you have coaches yell at you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And how did you, or a lot of the kids you grew up with, how did you guys respond to that?
We went separate ways. I mean, case in point, my senior year, we had about 3 seniors on our baseball team because of such a poor experience with that coach in the prior years. Everyone said, you know what, I'm done with this. I've had enough. We went and learned how to play lacrosse. Like, we definitely, but then again, I have those coaches that, maybe I wouldn't say fear, but a deep, deep, deep level of respect. They weren't my best friends. They didn't, having that love and respect doesn't mean that you have to be best friends, but it means that we were willing to perform. We knew that they had our best interest in mind, and that it wasn't this constant fear of failure. Because if you're constantly scared of what's going to happen if you fail, you're going to fail.
Yeah, no question, no question. If every decision you're having to overthink it as a player, as a salesperson, as a key employee in a business, on a team, if every decision you make you're afraid that your boss has created this culture of fear, well, that's not going to be very effective. But then at the same time, if it's so everything's good and golden and you're good to go, and actually no one's accountable, then that doesn't work either. And so there is this delicate balance that you have to have as a manager of a successful business. The other thing I would say, in today's culture, especially with younger generations, like when I was a kid growing up, I'd have coaches yell at me and I would come back 10 times harder, more pissed off, I'm going to prove you wrong type situation. And my 13-year-old son is of that mindset, but I would say 95% of his generation are not. And especially my 10-year-old, as I've coached those kids, sometimes they'll come up with tough love. Hey, that was a terrible half. You guys didn't. But if I go too hard, they do not respond.
Yep.
So I have to really focus on exactly what the solutions are and how we're going to do them, and really keep it focused on how we're going to succeed in the positive, while still trying to hold them accountable, but you can't be too hard. And so that there is this delicate management if you're going to be a successful manager.
As a leader, if you're going to come down on someone, you better provide a path to coming out of that, right? So case in point, in Little League, if you strike, you and your coach have been working on something over and over and over, and you go to bat and you strike out and you completely disregarded everything that you worked on, that's a completely different story. But I mean, that coach that you brought up, we would go up to bat, we'd strike out, just get chewed out, but there was no path forward. There's, hey, that was terrible, but next time work on this. It was just this constant getting on you, getting after you for striking out, even if you tried your best. And it was just this constant fear of...
It's like making love to the problem.
Exactly.
Like, well, yeah, we all know that's the problem. What's the solution, coach?
Exactly.
Hey, we're not watching all the way to the contact. Hey, we're not, whatever those key things that you need to do to actually be a successful hitter. And so that's what a lot of coaches really struggle with.
Yep.
All right, next we've got ineffective business planning. Maybe there's not a vision. You don't have a product or service that you set yourself apart from the competition. Anything you'd add to ineffective business planning and how important that is?
Yeah, just it's like anything in life. It comes down to goal setting. If you're doing something with no direction or doing something with no end in sight, it's going to be really hard to stay focused.
It's almost like the business, you're just doing a job, going through the motions, versus, hey, we have a mission. Our mission is to serve small business owners, get them access to the best money so that they can create great products and services, and we can really have a positive impact on our economy. But if you don't have a mission, it's just a job. It's just a job. So.
Yeah.
And then marketing mishaps. This is so important because you can put all this money into marketing, but if you don't have marketing that you can measure tangible results with, then that's where it's like a dark hole. It's like a black hole. You just put the money, it just disappears.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that with businesses all the time. They'll spend all this money generating leads, but these leads will have less than a 1% conversion, and that's just a complete waste. It's like, I don't care how many leads you can generate. I care how many leads you can convert, and that's the key here.
Exactly right. And these are the reasons why many small business owners are going to fail. But right up at the top is that lack of capital. So an important one to nip in the bud if you haven't figured out how to do that yet.